This dude used to kiss them dudes, bro. You know, and that ain't cool and under no circumstances. They're not your biological children. I don't care how you feel in your mind about them, but you know, you just don't kiss another little boy in the mouth. That was pure manipulation.
Hey, real tone, it's some real money in the room.
So, as we prepare to wrap up, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go on tour with Cash Money, because y'all still working even after Yella's death.
Right.
So y'all are still working with them after Yella's death, and y'all are touring. At what point does Wayne and BG start coming around?
Nah, man. Yella died toward the end in '97.
Okay.
So Wayne and BG showed up, you know, in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So they had been around, because but Wayne showed up, and then his father or his mother, I don't know the exact which one, but they pulled him back. So that's why you don't hear Wayne on all those early UNLV records, but you hear BG on all those early UNLV records. You know what I'm saying? So when Wayne finally showed back up, you know, I was fortunate enough to be present and be active on his very first time recording in the studio, which was on the True Stories album. It was called the BG's True Story, and it's a song called F Big Boy, which was BG, Wayne, and myself. It was a song by us three. That was the first single, and that's when Wayne officially showed back up.
Right. How were they being around there, being kind of young?
It was, man, it was like, okay, baby, whatever you say, you know, whatever he told him to do, he do it, you know, man, it just was, I don't know, I never in my life saw kids be manipulated the way that they were manipulated, you know. This dude used to kiss them dudes, bro. You know, and that ain't cool and under no circumstances. They're not your biological children. I don't care how you feel in your mind about them, but you know, you just don't kiss another little boy in the mouth. That was pure manipulation. You know, and at some point, you know, they had to grow up out of that. But he definitely used to kiss them in the mouth, but not all of them. See, he wasn't kissing Juvie in the mouth. He wasn't kissing Turk in the mouth, but he had the most control over Wayne and BG. You know what I'm saying? Fortunately, Wayne grew up out of that and, you know, started doing his own thing. But
so you saw him kiss them?
What?
Because we seen him kiss Wayne.
Man, he used to kiss BG too.
Not BG. BG's a gangster.
Boy.
He's the, you know what I'm saying? The muscle of Cash Money.
Nah. You know that.
No, I mean, no, from what I've seen, what I see, it's like, you know, he just did this prison bid.
It goes back to what I'm saying, Tune. You can go in the studio the same way a lot of these dudes on YouTube and Instagram could sit behind their computer, their keyboard, and become who they want to be. When you go in that studio, you could become who you want to be and sound like who you want to be. You know, I've saw on my mother, if I'm lying, let the ceiling fall. I've saw with my own eyes Birdman open his hand and slap the shit out of BG. You know, for bringing gangster around. One night.
What?
We getting ready to go to a show, and our meeting place used to be his Birdman and Slim stepmom's house on Valance and Magnolia. We would always meet there. We would either leave our cars there, jump in some vans or a bus or whatever, or we all pile up in our cars and follow each other to wherever we going. But that was our meeting place. And on this particular night, BG pulls up with Gangster. And I remember this like it was yesterday, man. Birdman said, "Look out, Doogie." Say, "Doogie, come here." And when he called him over there, he finally came over there, he opened his hand and popped him. Pop. told you about bringing them hot ass on me. And he was talking about gangster. And man, it's crazy, girl. It's crazy. I saw that with my own eyes. Ain't nobody told me this. You feel what I'm saying? So when he talk all that CMR this and one thing I'm gonna tell you about OG Giggity, when he say it's a Cash Money channel, it is to a certain point. You know, he only got so much rope because he's still in close contact with them. That's how he gets to know some inside stuff sometimes. But you know, I like to troll him the same way he liked to troll me. And one of my trolls towards him is I call him the side piece. And my reason calling him a side piece is because he's not allowed to be in public. He's not allowed to be publicly acknowledged by any of them. But he does talk to them, definitely. But they're not gonna be seen with him. They're not gonna take a picture with him or none of that because of how he came home. So that's my little inside joke with him. You know, I call him Side Piece Williams.
Side Piece Williams, OG Giggity, man. So you watch them come in as like kids and get manipulated in a sense by Bird.
Man, yeah, I see him. You know, that's I saw the manipulation. Just like I made a video earlier today, and I talked about how after a concert, when it's time to get paid, Birdman would hand BG $101 bills. You know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of manipulation and that I witnessed. You know what I'm saying? Just like they some young kids, but you making them believe it's cool to let me kiss you in the mouth. You know, I ain't saying they was tongue kissing or nothing like that, but just, you know, come here, give me a kiss.
But in New Orleans, I believe I was told that may be cool.
No, I don't know whoever told you. Whoever told you that, they're lie like a dog.
So that's not going on in New Orleans.
Nah, man, nobody about to be kissing each other, man.
Okay, I mean, we saw it on TV. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like not like.
That's what I'm saying. The TV will twist your man. The TV, if you don't have,
Because where were their parents?
they were trusted with Birdman and Slim. You know what I'm saying? So they were trusted, and when a person is sick in the mind, they'll try all kind of stuff. Just like those parents would send their kids to R. Kelly, you know, hoping that they finna be stars or whatever, and R. Kelly just popping them young ladies. You know what I'm saying? Allegedly. But them dudes, moms and pops sent them, and were like, you know, they about to be some stars. They already see that these guys is slick side hood rich, so you know, they send them to them. And you know, when a person messed up in the head, you know, you got to be a different type of person to think it's cool to kiss a young man in the mouth.
Right. Well, after you see him give him the $100 in ones, fat bankroll, what do y'all tell him?
We tell him he's supposed to be getting more than that.
Right.
We tell him what to say and what to ask for. And he turns around, and instead of him standing up for himself, he goes and tell him, Tec9 said, you beat me out of my money, I'm supposed to get so instead of, you know, just asking, man, look, this ain't enough. I need such and such. Nah.
Man, that's that's wild to hear. All right, man. Today on Real Tune TV, we got a New Orleans legend, hip hop pioneer, Tec9 of UNLV, aka Flex. How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. It's great to finally lock in with you, man. I've been studying your work, you know, and of course I just jumped off the porch with some podcasting and storytelling, and I kind of picked up a few pointers from you. So it's a good day for me to even lock in with you, bro.
Man, well, when I tell
Respect.
you have some of the best content right now going out of New Orleans. I think if you stay consistent and you stay down with what you have going on, you will be one of the biggest to do it, not just in New Orleans, but all over this here internet thing, man. So I'm excited about today, and I'm hoping we can get a lot of history, because one of the things that I'm really into is making sure that we get the history and we get it accurately, right?
Right.
So,
right.
Just tell me. Let's just start from the top, right? Because everybody I think knows about UNLV, one of the first Cash Money artists to kind of do it, especially at scale. But prior to that, where are you from?
I'm from New Orleans. I'm from Uptown New Orleans, the Melpomene Project. That's where I was born and raised at. And I stayed there until I was like 12 years old, and my mom married my dad when I was like 12, and my dad moved us out of there. So at that point, that's when we moved on 6 and Baron, which is also the name of our first album. So, but basically, I'm an Uptown baby, man. From the Melpomene to 6 and B. Melpomene raised me, and 6 and B bred me, man.
So you out that MILF?
I'm out the MILF.
Yeah. So at what point do you start rapping? Meet Lil Ya, meet Yellow Boy?
Right after I moved out the MILF, I met Lil Ya. We like 3 months apart in age. So we like 11 going on 12, right?
Right.
So we start, doing talent shows and realized that we had a common interest, which was the band and music. And eventually we started doing talent shows together, and it went from there. That's really where our music started from, doing talent shows in junior high school, Carter G. Woodson.
Okay, in junior high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So at what point do you start to get recognized by Birdman?
Like 17, 18 years old, because after the talent shows, we got a little bit discouraged, bro, because we was winning first place in every talent show that we entered, and then the radio station gave a talent show, and first prize was supposed to be a trip to New York and a record deal, right?
Right.
It was a lie. They didn't do what they said they was gonna do, so it discouraged us and made us back down for a little bit. Now, mind you, this is our teen years, 11, 12, 13 years old, 14 years old. So later on down the line, we started being old enough to sneak in clubs. We really wasn't old enough to be in there, but we was old enough to look like we old enough to be in there, right? So we sneaking in and out the clubs, and DJ Jimmy and T Tucker songs was popping, and the DJs had figured out a way to keep repeating the Trigger Man sound and the Showboys sound, and we call it Trigger Man in New Orleans, and we eventually started grabbing the mic and freestyling, and during the course of us freestyling, the DJ secretly records us, right? And we never knew he recorded us. So the following week, we go back to the club, and the DJ puts on the recording of me and Ya, and the club going crazy, right?
Right.
So after that, we feel like we had something, so we just asked him to make us a copy of the tape, give us a copy of it. We go to the local drugstore, buy a bunch of packs of cassettes, and we make cassettes, copies and copies and copies. And we selling them for $5 out of the car. And eventually Birdman and Slim got their hands on a copy of it and contacted us.
Okay. So how was that? You meet Birdman, you meet Slim, you're 17, 18, you know what I'm saying? How was that? Just walk us through that.
To be honest with you, man, coming from where I'm from, we we just were so used to seeing death and trauma and drama. You know, it was kind of refreshing to run across somebody that was willing to help us with our dream, right? So, you know, we automatically looked up to him, you know, but at the same time, we felt like we was connecting with two doughboys who was just trying to clean their stuff up, you feel me? But we trusted them, you know, we trusted them and believed in them the same as they did with us in the beginning.
Now, people have to understand, right, that this wasn't the Birdman and Slim that we know. This ain't Stunner.
No.
You know what I'm saying? This ain't Stunner right here. This
Right.
is Baby.
Baby.
Right.
Right.
What-
But with Slim, it was still Slim.
Right.
Slim been the same way from day one to right to this day. He just gets smarter as he go, but he never, you know, his character, it never did change.
Right. Right. What was different about them then than them now?
I think the difference between them back then and now is they are definitely more educated about what they're doing than what they were back then. You know, back then it was like, let's get out the streets, clean this money up, and you know, get to it. I want to do something legal, but it was like a learn as you go. But now I think they did, you know, doing well with what they know.
Right. And how old were they around this time?
Let me see. I would have to say, if I was like 18, they probably was like 23, 22, 23. You know what I'm saying? Because Birdman is like a few years older than I am.
Right.
You know, maybe 3 or 4 years older than I am.
And so who at this time outside of UNLV was signed to Cash Money?
When we got to the label, you had 2 artists, which was Kilo G and PMW.
Okay, so this is before Wayne,
Yes.
before Juvie,
Yes.
before Turk,
Yes.
before BG.
Yes.
So this is before the Cash Money that we know today.
Before the Cash Money that you know today. Like I said, when we arrived, it was Kilo G, which was their first artist, and PMW, which was their second artist. And then UNLV, they found us.
Okay, now I suppose they took a liking to you when they found you because
Yeah.
at some point you move and you start living with Birdman.
Right. Yeah, we was kind of close in the beginning, and you know, they kind of clinged to me. I guess they liked in my character or whatever, and also, you know, I was so invested into the music, you know, and they were so invested into getting to that next level. I was the one who was like, you know, I'm ready to go all the time. You know what I'm saying? Studio. So, you know, they saw that in me and was like, just grab and put me under their wing.
Okay. How was it when you was, you know, at their house?
It really was. We never was there. We always was on the road, going drop off music, pick up checks. You know, it was like when we get to the house, it's nighttime. It's time to shower and go to bed and wake up the next day. You know, so it really wasn't a whole lot of time spent at the house.
Right. Now there was one time at the house where you saw Baby and Slim get into an altercation.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me about that.
Definitely. So man, look, it's crazy, bro. Cause my guy tried to discredit my story, but he don't have no even. He can't discredit it because he wasn't there. It was myself, Slim, and Baby at the house. So the way it used to go is, man, Slim is like legally blind. Right, he not blind where he need a cane or a stick, but he's legally blind. Not, you know, meaning he can't drive. So somebody's always got to show for him around. And during that time, it was just him and Baby. You know what I'm saying? Right. So Birdman would we'll be gone all day, you know, taking care of business and taking care of music and stuff like that, dropping off, picking up, and then. At the end of the day, we'll drop Slim off, and then me and Birdman hang out and go You know, he might drop me by one of my broads, or we'll go tag team some broads or whatever, go get drink. During that time, it was like Alizé and Tanqueray. That's what our drink was. So we'll be doing our thing, but at the end of the night, we would always be, you know, we would be responsible for bringing Slim food home. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's if we didn't stop before we drop him off. You feel me? If we drop him off early, you know what I'm saying, he'll eat. And then, you know, when we come in at night, we'll bring him some more food. But during this time, man, you know, we took a real long time making it back to the house. And Slim was pissed. He was pissed, you know. Like I said in the prior video, Slim loved McDonald's, loved Popeyes. And there was a little spot called We Never Close out there in the east, not too far from where they used to live at. And man, we come home drunk, you know, playing around with them broads, and Slim fired up. So Slim was like, where my food at? He go to talk and fly to Birdman, blah, blah, blah. Birdman talking, fly back to him, blah, 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 blah. Before you know it, you know, Slim took off on him.
Slim took off on Bird.
Slim took off on him. Got him one in, pop. And they passed a few licks. They didn't fight hard, but they passed a few licks. But the argument was harder than the fight, you know. Go get the checkbook. Give me my half. The argument was worse than the fight, you know what I'm saying? But like I said before, man, the awkward part about it is, you know, nobody wasn't ever Slim, Birdman, and myself. And if any one of them was to see this, they probably dying laughing because they know that this happened. And, you know, like I said, nobody else couldn't speak on this to say if it's the truth or lie because nobody else wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the crazy part, we never spoke about it amongst each other, you know. Between the three of us, we never spoke about it. But, you know, they definitely know it happened, you know.
Right. So, UNLV, right? Y'all start getting big, and somebody else who comes along is Mystical. Mm-hmm. At what point, because y'all had some disses back and forth, at what point did y'all get into it with Mystical?
Man, to be honest with you, with Mystical was a long time friend of ours, right? From high school, from 9th grade to 12th grade till we all graduated. Okay. So Mystical graduated maybe a year or two before us, right? But then he went away to the armed forces, whichever branch he was in. So when he came back from the armed forces, we was already in there. You know, we got New Orleans on lock, popping. So he pulls up. I think he, you know, he was finished with his little tour or whatever, military tour, and he came and was like, man, introduce me to your people, blah, 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 this, that. And that part didn't work out. So he came back and was letting us know that he had hooked up with some other record label in the city and that he wanted to diss us to get some traction, you know. So me and Ya and myself, we agreed to let him do it, and you know, that was that. But the thing about it was, Yella wasn't present at that time when we agreed to let him diss us. And when he did diss us, Yella took it personal. But see, the other thing about Yella is he really didn't understand. He didn't care about, okay, we gonna keep this in the streets, and I mean, keep this on the records and da-da-da-da, it's not street. Yella, you know, he was like, you play with me, you know, it's on go. So he didn't care that we agreed. Right. In his mind, it's like, all right, I got him. So it really was more beef with Yellow and Mystical than it was with Mystical, Ya, and Tec. You feel what I'm saying? Because we consciously agreed to let him do that.
Right.
But
he uses Yella's lines when he
uses Yella's lines. You know, he never gonna bounce, never gonna bow. because that was the, you know how it go when you at the top, they gonna come for was at the top. So Yellow had one of the hottest dances out, and yeah, he took a jab at Yellow, you know, kind of first.
Right. So this takes place, and it eventually gets pretty bad.
Yeah.
How bad did it get?
Man, it got so bad to if Mystical was to ride through our neighborhood, the little kids in the neighborhood would throw rocks and bottles and stuff at his truck. Get from around here, get from around here. If Yellow was driving in his truck and he spot Mystical just driving through the neighborhood, Yellow gonna chase him, you know, and you know, try to make him wreck or run into him, or you know, it was on go with him with that situation. And it got so bad to when Mystical's sister lost her life and Yellow lost his life, they both were blamed, you know, because of what the fans listening to. So the fans would be like, man, did Mystical really kill Yellow? Or did Yellow really kill Mystical sister? That's the questions we would be asked every time we would go on the road outside of New Orleans.
Right. So rewind that just a little bit. So when Mystical's sister is, you know, deleted.
Right.
R.I.P. Yellow Boy is blamed, and I'm told he wasn't just, you know, blamed, but he actually got arrested.
Yeah, he got detained. Not arrested like whereas you arrested and charged, but he was detained. We both were detained because when you saw him, you saw me. When you saw me, you saw him. But once we got detained, they didn't, they allowed me to leave, but I didn't leave until I was gonna see if they gonna keep him or let him go. But he was detained and questioned, but nothing came from it because the blessing about this whole thing, because it could have went way worse than that. The blessing about it is that the guy who did do it confessed to doing it.
Right.
So that kind of freed him up right there. But I don't think if that guy wouldn't have confessed, that it probably would have been a little bit more harsher than it was.
So and how, just as a point of clarification, how were y'all even in a situation to where y'all getting detained for like a murder situation?
The streets, man. The streets will have you jammed up. Just the streets talking, and the fans, you know, just by the fans will, you know, at sometimes the fans will literally take what you're saying in the record and, you know, take that as if that's what it really is. Yeah. And in this case, that's what really happened, bro.
You and Yellow, like back then, it was cool to do heroin.
To us, in our
in
our mind, yeah, in our mind.
Right.
But we paid for it. You know, he paid for it with his life, and I paid for it with my health. You know.
Yeah. How was it back then? Like, tell me about him, like Yellow Boy.
So it was this big old myth that if you snort a bag of boy, that you gonna pop a girl all night, non-stop. That old thing ain't gonna never go down. So that's what initially drew us in to try it, right? And you, it's true. It's definitely true. But what they don't tell you is after doing it for so long, your body start needing it, right?
Right.
And that's what ultimately happened to Yellow and myself. We would do heroin every day. And then just on that one day that we go in to try to find some, and maybe our little plug ain't there or whatever, and we gotta wait a few hours, now we start to feeling sick, and now that's when it, you know, you realize that you gotta have it. But it's hard to, hold on. It's hard to realize that you have a habit when you riding around in the flyest cars and you got the flyest clothes and jewelry and pockets full of money. So it's hard for you to even look at yourself as a junkie. You know what I'm saying?
And y'all were like junkies with money.
That's what I would call it, man. If I'm gonna be totally transparent with you and with the people who watching this, I would call myself a junkie with money.
Right.
Definitely. And you don't know that until you know your mind is clear and your body is clean. You don't realize until you step outside of yourself and see somebody else and you identify with what they doing. You were like, shit, I used to do the same thing, you know. But you realize you wasn't no different. So if you a conscious enough person and a smart enough person, you'd be like, I was just like that.
Right. So now there was a time where y'all were going about y'all's day, or you per se were going about your day, and you were looking for some boy. You pulled up to the Magnolia.
Right.
And you see Hot Boy Sterling.
Yeah.
But before we even go into that, tell me a little bit about the Hot Boys. Like, who were they? This was the original Hot Boys before the rap.
Right. The original Hot Boys, in my opinion, were really just some jack boys. You know, they were known more for jacking and beefing and having shootouts than they were for being on that money kick. You feel what I'm saying? Now, down the line, towards the end, Gangster, he started getting some money, you know. But really, you know, Sterling, Mosquito, Hot, Dooney wound up getting to the money too. But Sterling, Mosquito, Hot, they never really was on no money kick. They just, you know, they beefing and shooting out and, you know, people popping at them, they popping at people. And, you know, they jacking and, you know, that's what the Hot Boys was that I saw coming up uptown, you know.
Right. So you're going to get some boy from the Magnolia.
Right.
And Sterling's there. So
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I pull up in the Magnolia, right, and Gangster was my go-to guy, so he wasn't there. Normally, if we going in the project and we can't run into him, it would we would normally his moms would let us inside or whatever, and but this particular time he wasn't there. I didn't get out and go. I didn't see my other little partner, Claudia B, down the street going toward Louisiana. I didn't see him.
Okay, so what happened when you pull up, you know, looking for the boy? So,
all right. Normally, OG Giggity, that was my go-to guy. You know, Yellow and myself, we would go to him to get what we needed, right? So this particular day, he wasn't out there. And we didn't see moms or nothing like that, you know. Well, I say we, but I was by myself this day. And, you know, I made the block after I didn't see Claudia B either, so I made the block and come back around, hoping maybe Gangsta come outside or whatever, but he never showed up. So when I made the block, I see Sterling, right? Mm-hmm. So Sterling flagged me down, and he was like, I'm like, well, what Gangsta at? You know, he was like, he gone, he coming back though, but I got it. You know, so I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Give me a gram, give me a G. So I hand him my money, and he goes in the hallway. I'm thinking maybe he gonna go in the house, or you know, he coming right back out, but he started taking long, and they really raised my suspicion because I never messed with him on that tip anyway. You know, most of the time, you know, he was known for jacking, but by me knowing that they was closely associated, I'm thinking maybe, you know, he left it with him. He don't want to miss out on the money or whatever. So when he finally came back out, he handed it to me, and you know, most of the time you ain't thinking nobody about to pull off nothing. So I just grabbed what I grabbed and boom, I'm gone. I heads down the street and, you know, make a little quick stop, come back in, try to get me a little bump. And when I open it up, I realized this food and hit me off with some brown sugar. So man, it's crazy because you know, as I'm about to really turn around and go back, which was probably gonna be a bad decision because, you know, I already know these dudes don't care. They don't have no, you know, no heart, no sense for human life or none of that. He probably was gonna pop me if he saw me come back, pull up back up, because he don't know what level I'm on. Right. But before I can turn and go back, Mosquito, which is a very good friend of mine, we go way, way back. And I see Mosquito going to the store, and I stopped him and let him know what's going on. And Mosquito wound up taking care of the situation for me. You know, I gave him my car. He took the bad dope, the bad boy, and he actually went back to him and got my money for him minus $50. you know, I gave him $300. I wound up with $250 back. So it is what it is, though.
Right. So it's like y'all are this rap group, but y'all have like this street thing going on, right? Mm-hmm. Now Yella, he throughout his tenure with Cash Money had issues with Birdman.
Yeah.
It was even said that a few fights happened. Right. Tell me about their relationship.
Yella and Birdman definitely didn't get along. Yella always thought that Birdman was up to no good, and Birdman always felt like Yella was just a little bit too cocky. You know, Yella had a real bad habit of calling Birdman's hands. You know, he would always be like, come on, let's do it. You know, and Birdman would just gracefully, you know, bow out and just, you know, play the bigger role in that situation, right? So, you know, that would go on so much and so much and so much, man. And in my opinion, I really think that Yella thought Birdman was scared of him. And so, you know, if a person really not scary, it's gonna come to a point where they gonna wind up just being pushed too far, and they gonna show you. You feel what I'm saying? And one day we was shooting a video on Martin Luther King and Claiborne. That's uptown. That's like a landmark uptown. So everybody out there, and we shows up late, right? Yella shows up even later than Yai and myself. And once we all got out there, Birdman was so mad. He was like, man, F this video shoot, we ain't doing it, and this, that, F them niggas, blah, 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 blah. So it came down to it to where we was like, man, well, take it in the hood, you know? Let's go back in the hood. I'm gonna show you. So Yella had then called his hands again. So this time Birdman ain't back down because he got all of his partners around there now. You feel me? So he don't want to look bad in front of all his partners. So he went ahead and accepted the fight. And so once we got back in the hood, them two squared off. And I could tell Birdman ain't really want to fight him because he never took a step forward. He was just going backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards. You know, it really wasn't no hardcore fight, but Yella definitely got him because Birdman really, he was more in defense than he was trying to apply pressure. And during the fight, Slim, you know, I'm trying to break the fight up, right? So I hear the joke. I heard the joke where Giggity said about of all the people I could fight Slim. I tried everything in my power not to hit Slim. Slim hit me at least 3 times before I finally swung back. My point in that fight was to the only reason I even got involved in that fight was trying to stop Slim for jumping Yellow. Because Slim was trying to jump in the fight with while Yellow and Birdman going one-on-one. And I'm instead of going, back up, Slim, chill. I'm trying to hold him back, you know. And you see me looking up, because that's how it really is, looking up to him, man, back up, you know, get back. And he instead of trying to swing over me and get a lick on Yellow, but he missing Yellow. And pop, he instead of popping me, pop. He popped me like 3 times. After that 3rd time, like, Slim, bro, don't swing no more. He's still swinging, pop. And man, Slim got some little bitty hands, right? Some little skinny hands, and them things hurt. You catching all bones. You feel what I'm saying? So man, that's what made me ultimately hit Slim. It ain't like me and Yellow against Slim and Baby. Come on, man. Come on, bruh. Man.
Right.
But that's how the altercation wind up happening, you know?
Right. So at some point, I'm guessing Yellow Boy was feeling played with. Feeling like Birdman wasn't cutting checks, cutting the royalties, and he went to see about it.
Yeah.
And then I did an interview with Lil Ya of UNLV, and he talked about it, so on and so forth. But tell me what you know about that night, because apparently this is what led up to Yella getting killed.
Right. So it was coming to the point where we was getting ready to record more music, and we saw the huge change in income when we dropped the Uptown for Life album. You know, just imagine you selling hundreds and hundreds of thousands of copies on an independent level back then when music wasn't being streamed. So we started, we wanted, to renegotiate our contract and this, that, and the other, and they wasn't trying to have it. And I was more on the level like, let's hire a lawyer. But like I said, the same frame of mind Yellow had with the Mystical situation, not really understanding it. He had that same frame of mind, not wanting to wait until, okay, we find a lawyer and let a lawyer deal with it and we can maybe renegotiate it like that. He took it up on himself with one of the little dudes he used to ride around with sometimes when he wasn't with me. And he goes and shoot their house up, shoot their cars up that was in front of their house. You feel me? So, once he went to that point, I was like, damn, the first thing came to my mind is like, maybe he too far gone on the dope. Let me try to, talk him into going to rehab. And that's when I made the conscious decision to put myself in the rehab. And I asked him to come with me, and him and I had an argument. He didn't really want to hear that rehab stuff like that, And so that's when I went to the rehab. And maybe like after the 2nd or 3rd day I was in there, boom, that's when he got deleted.
Well, you ended up getting arrested for his deletion, or at least detained.
Right.
So
but me being in that rehab is what cleared me ultimately. But I still stayed in jail like 2-3 months because my mind was so poisoned with drugs. I didn't even realize that this is where I was until a joke was made by a female that I was dealing with. She made a joke like how I get out the rehab that night, because I really took some furniture and threw it around, broke it, pop, 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 and made them put me out. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I get out of the rehab. But that's also how I got out of jail. I wasn't formally charged for the murder, but my probation officer put a hold on me trying to get me indicted for it.
right.
So I'm sitting in prison all this time, in jail, all in county jail all this time while he trying to work his case up on me. But once I realized and the light went off and it dawned on me that I was in the rehab, I had the female to get me a lawyer get me a court date. I got the court. The judge ordered the clerk of court to call the rehab. The rehab faxed over my paperwork, and I got released right then and there.
Now, all of this is happening, and you end up going to Yellow Boy's funeral and whatnot.
Yes.
Or did you got to go?
Yeah, I got to go to this.
How was that?
It was really weird because that was like the second person that I saw laying in the casket. The first person I ever saw laying in the casket was my pops, and the second person was Yellow Boy.
Was it a big funeral or?
Yeah, it was a pretty big funeral. And you know what always stuck with me about Yellow funeral? Birdman and Slim showed up at the funeral with Islamic protection. You know how you might have the Muslims provide protection, like security for people? I don't know if you might not know that, but
The NOI is
yeah,
called the
right,
Fruit of Islam or
they
something
showed
like
up
that.
with them.
Yeah.
They showed up with them, and neither one of those guys was a Muslim. But to their defense, they started using them to be our security instead of like regular buff guys. We would walk in concerts and Riverboat Hallelujah with the NOI. But it was just strange to me that they showed up at the funeral with the NOI, you know.
Yeah.
Stayed maybe 15, 20 minutes and then left. So I think it was like a publicity showing, if you ask me, you know. Just certain things stick with me in my head, you know.
Right. You actually went viral, right? Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the live. I just got to see everybody talking about it.
Yeah.
Essentially, you addressed the rumors that Birdman had something to do with Yellow Boy's deletion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's your perspective on that? Like, just be honest, what do you believe? Because you took it down as if you were retracting your statements.
I took it down. First of all, I still feel that way. I still stand on that, right? But I took it down because I got a phone call from 12, right? And 12 actually told me, hey man, this case been an ongoing case, blah, 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 blah. Do you want to help us to move forward on it? And me holding on to that quote unquote street code and the law of the land and all this here, I was like, nah, you know, because at that point I couldn't see myself, you know, getting on a stand. And although, let me say this, it was inevitable that what happened as far as the phone call, but I didn't consciously think about that when I, you know, made the video, right? So, you know, just to be, I didn't make the video to intentionally get attention from the police. I made the video to intentionally expose them for the snakes that they are, right? So anyway, I get the phone call from 12 and it was like more so if, well, you know, if you're not gonna help us move forward, it probably would be your best interest to take it down. You know, they didn't make me take it down, they advised me, you know, so it was up to me to do, you know, to take it down or not. And that was it. It wasn't about no backlash or none of that, because I'm not worried about no backlash. It's really about, you know, justice for my partner. You know, that's that. You know, I don't live my life on no street code. This is the same street code that got his life taken away. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not loyal to nothing that's not loyal to me. You know, that's just
So
that.
Birdman didn't have you take it down?
Nah, man, Birdman ain't have me. That would have made me leave it up and probably make a response to it and everything. He'd have called me. It was 12 called me and asked me to cooperate with him, and I just wasn't willing to do it, you know, at that time. And I took it down. I took their advice and I took it down.
Yeah, and why did they tell you to take it down? Out of like fear for your life, or?
No, they was not in fear for my life. It was more like, are you gonna help us? Are you gonna talk to us about what you know and this, that, and the other? And I'm like, nah. It's like, well, okay, well, will you talk to us off record? Off the record. I say, nah, man. They even wanted to, fly to me. I'm like, nah. He said, well, man, if you ain't gonna help us, we probably would advise you to take it down. They didn't say you better take it down. They just advised me to take it down. Even though, taking it down didn't matter, because once I popped it, everybody and their mama grabbed it, clipped it, switched it around and everything else. So it still was out there. You know what I'm saying? I just, but by them advising me to take it down, so I just really switched it around and, played like I was lying.
Right. So why do people like Terrence Gangsta Williams and, what I believe was Skip, have something to say about what you had to say?
Because they say they not, they say they've changed their life, both of them. They say I've changed my life, but at the same time you expect me to hold on to a quote unquote street code. It ain't making no difference. Either you're gonna be on this side of the fence or that side of the fence, point blank. So how could you, right? Just answer this. How could any one of them squash a 30-year-old beef that they had with each other? One person killed the other person's best friend. Right? So you showing growth right there. But then you backtrack and try to call me rat and this, that, and the other for doing what I did.
My thing with the situation is this, right? Because to my knowledge, Skip or Ripper, he admitted to killing Hot Boy Sterling.
Right.
I think Sterling like robbed him or something like that, and so he ended up shooting him. And Gangsta was there, and their stories kind of switch up a little bit. But the point and the purpose is that they ended up sitting down, but Skip told that story. So what's different about Skip telling the story versus you telling the story? Because at the end of the day, it's y'all's truth.
Right.
And from what I know about the street code, which I don't know much, is that just those type of situations you're not supposed to speak on, period, if we just putting it out like that. You see what I'm saying? So
right.
What do you think is the difference there?
The difference as far as how people view it is, like I said, they expected me to hold on to a code that's really, that code don't do nothing for nobody, if you ask me. The code that they asking me to hold on to, that's for YNs. You ask me, well, for a person like myself, I'm not in the streets, I'm not of the streets, I don't claim the streets, and that's just that. I really, it's just a code that the streets expect you to hold on to until it affects them. Everybody wanna hold on to this, big bad thing, and then when it affects them, now they want to talk about gun reform and take the guns off the street. When they mama child get taken away, now they want to go all on the news and they need to put some gun reform. Well, up until then, they gonna clown and do what they do.
Right. So as far as you're concerned, what actually happened between Yellow Boy and Birdman?
Yellow, like I said, in my opinion, Yellow, well, ain't in my opinion, it's a fact. He shot his house. He shot his house up, and I feel like Birdman was in fear for his life, so he did what he had to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right. How bold do you have to be to shoot up Birdman's house?
Man, he put his pants on the same way anybody put their pants on. He take a leak the way every other man take a leak. They put this, this thing over his head like he the king of this and the king of that. But people, the internet will make you look harder, bigger than what you really are. You know, the fans will make you look harder or bigger than what you really are. That microphone in that studio, you could become whoever you want to be. You know what I'm saying? So that's all that's about. You know, it is what, if you're not scary, you don't care who you is. And that's a perfect example. Man, didn't care who he was and this, that, and the other, you know. They make Slim look like the real godfather, you know, in actuality, Slim just another smart cat. You feel me? That's it. Right. That's it. But if you hear the Godfather Slim, the Godfather, you hear that so much, then you gonna start thinking like that. You know, then the media gonna paint a narrative and paint a picture of him as the Godfather, when he just another smart cat. You know, that's it.
Right. I saw a story that you told, basically saying you saw some funny business going on while they were touring. Mm-hmm. Like BG's not getting respected. He's getting little boyed constantly. And I guess Slim put some fire in his buttocks.
Nah, it wasn't. Nah, it wasn't fire. It was little matches. You know, they had a book of matches in the hotel. And you know how it is, man. You on the road with your partner, somebody, the first person fall asleep about to get it. You know, right. You might get toothpaste on your eyebrows,
ketchup,
you know, something in your hand, and then wiggle your ear. You try to, you know. So this night they decided to prank him, and Slim grabbed the book of matches, and first thing he did was pull his pants down. So, you know, that was surprising because he never woke up or never moved. He sleep hard in the bed. So after he pulled his pants down, he lined up 4 or 5 matchsticks in his bucket, and then he lit them. So man, it was so crazy because the matches still burning, and then I guess it started, you know, a person's natural reflex, whether you unconscious or not, you're gonna react to that probably, I guess. But he squished his cheeks together and put the matches out, man. That's when he finally woke up like, man, y'all play too much. I'm like, God damn, dog. But say, you know what the crazy part about it is? Now that I'm older and I told this story, man, people was like, you wrong for letting them do it. And I kind of feel that too. I should have took responsibility instead of laughing at him. You know what I'm saying? I should have been like, man, don't do that, man, that, you know. But, you know, that Me Too and, you know, SA wasn't really as powerful as it is now as it, you know, back then. You know, but if they was to do that right now, they'll be underneath the jailhouse.
Right. Yeah, so y'all were just there watching and laughing?
Well, it was all fun and games, a joke to us, you know, like really egging Slim on. You know, mind you, it's funny to us because like I told you, Slim really can't hardly see. You know what I'm saying? So just to see him, you know, back then we used to have, you know, we had beepers and stuff back then, and if Slim beeper go off, he literally would put it up to his face like that to see the numbers, you know, that's going off on his beeper. So, you know, just to see Slim, the one that's doing it, you know, that was extra funny. You feel me?
Right. And this is my my final question.
All right.
But for you, right? Cash Money alumni, living legend, right? Without UNLV, there may not be a Cash Money, may not be a Wayne, may not be a Juvie, may not be the stars that we know today. Mm-hmm. The Hot Boys tour. It was wildly successful. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful to see. I'm glad Turk got included, got his shine. I had the privilege and honor of interviewing Turk, right? And this was all prior to this happening, and it happened. Mm-hmm. But after it happens, Turk is kicked off the tour, gets into it with BG on Live. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts, right? Because now they talking about suing, and you know it's starting to get legal. What's your thoughts on Turk getting kicked off the Hot Boys tour?
Just from me being in the music business for so long and being in the music business with two close friends, here's what I have to say about that. I totally 100% believe that they all conspired to kick Turk off that tour. And here's why I say that. Because if they all partners and they all getting money together, you mean to tell me not one person is gonna stand up and say, all it would have took, if it was the so-called promoter, like they trying to paint the picture, all it would have took was them to say, man, look, if Turk can't come, we ain't going. You know the promoter gonna pull Turk on that, because guess what? That front end is already, that deposit was already paid out, you know. You don't want to lose out on the deposit and the back end. So my thing is, nobody stood up for Turk. So that clearly states to me that y'all wanted him off there anyway. Y'all valued BG more than y'all valued Turk, instead of just letting them make their money together. They were scared he was gonna really, pop BG once they got around each other. So they got him out the way. You mean to tell me nobody ain't stand up for him? That's because they all conspired against him.
How do you feel about how Turk moved afterwards?
It was a blessing. That was God taking care of him. That was God taking care of him. You know what I'm saying? It was widely off of his hard work and his dedication, but for the most part, God took care of him and showed him, I got you, don't worry about that. And now God put him in a position where he can go do his own tours. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Without them, you know?
Right.
That was a dirty move, you ask me, bro.
Man, what do you feel is the future for that Cash Money? I'm saying because a lot has happened, right? Especially since BG has been home. You know what I mean? I saw BG go with Gucci Mane, and now it's looking like he's back with Bird. Right. You know what I'm saying? We've seen Wayne leave, money issues. Juvie leave, turn rap a lot, come back, money issues.
Right.
Manny Fresh, you know what I'm saying, leave, money issues. UNLV, leave.
Money issues.
You
know what I said? I said that in a video somewhere. If everybody, calling you a thief and everybody leaving, so you trying to tell me we all just at some point got together and said, let's fuck with Birdman and Slim and leave, or let's call him a thief. Nah, man, that's who you are as that's your character. So if you, at some point you got to ask and try to figure out, what am I doing wrong? Why is everybody saying this about me? Why is everybody leaving at some point? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It ain't everybody else. It's you, bro.
Yeah. Man, but shout out to them boys. You know what I'm saying? I like to see it. I like to see it continuing after so long. I think
any black man, bro.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to have the type of legacy, right? And to even still have pieces that might not be on the board, but they still, like yourself and OG Giggity, making a lane in the media. You know what I'm saying? Having a story and having a platform. Whether people want to give Bird his props or not, it's like, you know what I'm saying? What they've created has lasted beyond them. It's kind of bigger than them at this point.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you want to see any black man win, especially if you are part of that and you help that out. A lot of people get rubbed the wrong way when they hear me telling my story, but it's just my story. A lot of times, it's not gonna go in everybody's favor. Somebody is gonna get rubbed the wrong way. You had Whitney Houston stories. You had Bobby Brown stories. You had Elvis Presley stories, Michael Jackson stories, James Brown stories. Everybody within that story wasn't talked about in a positive, way all the time. So it is what it is. I'm not gonna allow myself to be silenced because his feelings or her feelings might get hurt. That's my story. I would rather tell it than allow somebody else to butcher it up. You feel me?
I do. Before we go, because I didn't ask you about Master P, but I know during the beef with Mystical was with No Limit.
Right.
And so to a lot of people, it looked like a, Cash Money versus No Limit situation. But Birdman actually introduced y'all to Master P.
Yeah, it never really got to a No Limit Cash Money beef. It was more like a Master P and Birdman ego trip. Both of them felt too big to mess with each other, and they both was from uptown, just separated by a couple of miles. You know what I'm saying? And they both their ego, didn't allow them to work with each other. That was it. But my first time meeting Master P was at a radio station one night. They was leaving the radio station, and we was on our way to the radio station. And this is actually the night, I think, where P was just coming back to New Orleans recruiting artists, and he, most of the time, on this particular night, Birdman sat in the car with him and played him our album that was just about to drop, the Bout It song. So uptown thing and we bout it. And right after that, we get the Master P, bout it. So that's why I told the story of that Master P. Most people, they give their opinion about the differences in the two songs, but they wasn't there the night that I saw Birdman sit in the car and play our album for him. He didn't copy our exact cadence, but he definitely copied that idea.
Well, he ended up approaching y'all at another time and offering to buy your music.
Right, which was the Booty Bop
Okay.
song. He was like, he sent somebody. He sent one of his colleagues, the guys passed by now, Swab Bob, rest in peace, Swab Bob. But he sent Swab Bob to us to buy a song from us that actually went #1 on the radio. And he tried to offer us peanuts, man. And I don't even need to say, man, we definitely got turned that down.
All right. Well, man, the pleasure was all mine. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely honored to have you here. Is there anything you want to let your fans know?
Yeah, definitely. Follow me on Instagram, Tec9 UNLV. Follow me and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It is growing at a rapid pace at Tec9 of UNLV. And it was a pleasure doing this interview with you, man. Definitely.
And salute, man. Until next time, man, Real Tone TV signing out.
Hey, Real Tone, it's some real money in the room.